We are in November. We can pray for all those who have died in our families, friends. Pray for the repose of their soul, our parents. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So we continue our study about the fallacies, and we are in the second categories of fallacies. Some fallacies depend on language, some fallacies are independent of language. And they are also extra diction, extra outside diction of what is said. So they are concerning with the reasoning process itself. It's not the content now, it's the process itself. Defect of form or inference. In that defect of inference, we saw that in syllogism, lead to invalidity. The conclusion can be true, but if the form is not valid, the syllogism is not valid. So we make the difference, you remember, between the matter and the form. The form, the syllogism, is the inference, is the validity. The syllogism must obey the laws of reasoning, the 8th rule. So those fallacies arise from ignorance of the requirement of the rules for a valid proof. In fact, it is they are against one of the 8th rule of syllogism. Now, I told you, if you know the 8th rule of syllogism, you can criticize any kind of syllogism. So that kind of fallacies is the ignorance of the valid reasoning process. In that here, we find what we call the art of sophistry. Sophists are those who use logic to attain any kind of conclusion. Okay? If we pay them well, we try to prove that you are right. So the art of sophistry consists to give only the appearance of reasoning, an appearance which leads to deception. So the sophist is able to set up his pattern of fallacious reasoning, always true, and ignorance of proof. So many times the sophist will try to distract you from the problem and to lead you to another path, you know. And you find that path so beautiful, you say, oh, you're right, you know. We studied that. First is the sophist by accident. One only uses an accidental or general reason. It is we call the hasty generalization. We go from a certain fact, a particular, to the universal. We are affirming from the particular. We saw that when we studied on the square of opposition. We cannot start from a particular truth to a universal truth. We cannot start from, we don't know. So that is false induction. It is very, very current. Many fallacies are, in fact, false, a kind of false induction. First, that fallacy affirms that what is true of the individual, or particular, is true of the species, the universal. So what is true of, for example, some fish is true for all the fish of the same, you know. So that we cannot affirm from someone to the, yeah, brother.
I'm sorry, Father, I have no clue where you're at on the thing.
We are on page 124.
Oh, 124. Yeah, I was on. Okay.
C, fallacies independent of language. Okay. The continuation of last week.
Thank you.
Okay. So a remark here. The remark in fact is exactly what I explained here. We cannot start from a particular or individual case to universal. In the species, for example, suppose normally dogs are born with tails, but sometimes by accident a dog is born without a tail. So we cannot say because a dog is without a tail, not every dog is without a tail. That is common sense. Huh? But, you know, many times we commit sins against common sense. We start from some cases and we universalize. It's a big temptation. And many advertising are based on that. Huh? So, you know, it's not difficult for you, for your exam, to find one fallacy under advertising. Huh? If you watch attentively, it's very easy, with the newspaper. Huh? Okay. Now, I continue. Huh? Well, here I give you the example of Cameroon. Huh? You see some women well dressed and with a beautiful Mercedes. You can say, hey, all Cameroonian women have Mercedes. Because I say some seminarians very pious, I cannot say everyone is pious. So we cannot universalize from a certain. For example, every oak is covered with carvings. Huh? For that giant tree is covered with carvings, and it is an oak. And it is an oak. So we cannot start from some fact and universalize. Secondly, do. Or presenting as true in the definite particular what is only general to. Generally, not universally, be careful. Generally. General is not universal. In general, we say that. In general, seminarians are pious. In general. Sometimes, maybe some exception. Universal, no exception. You see the nuance between in general and universal. So we cannot presenting as true a definite particular, but it's only generally true. Because the link is accidental. If the link is essential, it's not general, it is universal. Universal. We saw that, you remember, subject and predicate. And when the subject predicate is united in an essential way, you remember that? In an essential way, we have genus, specific difference, and species. In that case, it is something essential. In that case, it is universal. But what is property is not necessarily universal, but is following accident. What is accidental can be in general. In general, men can laugh, but maybe some men cannot laugh because they are not able, they did not develop their capacity of thinking. In some hospital, you have some people like that. Okay. We have the intelligent. Those who are in psychiatric hospital, they're intelligent, but they cannot use it. You know? Okay. Correctly. I agree. Americans are generous people. I am American. It is written here. I'm not an American on the papers, and I'm an American. Therefore, I am generous. So Americans are generous. Okay, look at that. Americans are generous. Predicate, subject. Is generous essential to be an American?
No.
No. So that is, I can say in general, the majority in general are generous, but someone they are avaricious. Huh? Like everyone, everywhere, every country, we have the same. Huh? So it is a false induction, invalid generalization. Okay? So we affirm, we start from a general affirmation, general, be careful, not universal, huh? General affirmation to apply that to someone or a particular group. For example, I said that religiousness is lazy, and therefore I said, you can read that by yourself. Democrat. Statistics are based on that. Polls are based on that. Okay. That is in fact a false generalization. In fact, it is also, we call that in spirituality, when it is for a bad judgment, we call it a rash judgment.
Could you say it is the most common fallacy, Father?
Hmm?
Could you say it is the most common?
A rash judgment is a fallacy, is a sin.
No, but hasty, but false induction.
Yes, hasty, because you generalize, you universalize without verification. It is. you know, the rash judgment, it is when we start from a particular fact and universal fact. Huh? That is, for example, Mrs. X, Mrs. T, Mrs. X, I use the simple product, no, just not for that. You see, suppose I'm going on the road in Cromwell. Huh? I see a seminarian walking on the sidewalk with a beautiful student, female student. So I can say, oh, they fall in love. That is a rash judgment. False induction, yes. In philosophy, we don't say rash. But that means I affirm, but be careful. That is spontaneous. Huh? I'm not guilty necessarily if I say, oh, yes, yes. So no, it can be totally a pure occasion. He was saying piously his rosary, and suddenly I say, hey, how do you do? Huh? Continue. You know, that is very, very, very. Many people have problems because of false generalization or hasty, rash judgment. Hasty. It is for me one of the most pernicious kind of fallacy. We see one fact and we generalize from that fact, one fact. Next paragraph, page, the consequent. Fallacy of consequence. Well, here we have to refer to what we study in hypothetical syllogism. You remember, if P, then Q. Huh? So, the fallacy confirmed the consequence of the effect. I see the cause, and I go to the effect, if P. Look at that. It is a fallacy resulting from treating what is true of genus, of the genus in general, as though it were peculiar to a species under the given genus. That means what is a general character of a thing, it can, I think the best is start from an example. What example I gave you? You walk out this morning from your house and you saw the floor, the ground was wet, no? Immediately what you thought? It is raining. Oh, it rained. Huh? It rained. Oh. Then you see the consequent, and from the consequent Q, you did use that wet ground, therefore a rain. Of course, if it is raining, cat and dog, no problem. Yeah. But suppose you arrive in the morning and the sidewalk in front of your house is wet. You see, during the night it rained. Maybe not. Maybe it was because a pipe broke. No. Pipe broke, and water is there. Huh? It can be, I don't know, somebody dropped he was carrying water and water dropped on the floor. We can, of course, probably it rained. Probably, maybe not absolute certitude. Why? Because from Q, we cannot affirm directly P. That is a fallacy. So when you affirm from Q, P, it is a fallacy of consequence. So if I go, it is an application of the law of hypothetical syllogism. We saw that, you remember, no? To the consequent Q, to the antecedent here. So, you know, if you know, the floor is wet, that is the genus. We know it is in general, it is wet. A towel wet. Clothes wet, the floor wet, okay. Wet floor, wet towel, etc. Okay. Now we can have many possibilities. It can be a rain. It can be a broken pipe. It can be somebody who poured water on, etc. We don't know. Or maybe it is, you know, it is the tear of the students because they missed their examination. No. No, impossible. Impossible. Okay, that is only imagination. Imagination. Okay. So here we have genus, but here we have species. Species. That means the fact the floor is wet is not necessary because it rains. Because somebody, you know, in the morning they clean the front of their house with the hose. In some country, for example, in Holland, everybody is responsible of the front of his house. So everyone must have a clean house. The front, the sidewalk, the street must be clean. Everyone. So when you arrive in those village, it is perfect, perfect. No? It can be that. It can be somebody who uses his hose to. So that is. We cannot start from the genus to affirm something of the particular. No? Okay. When it is accidental, be careful. Accidental. It is. For a cat, it is accidental to have a tail. Why? Because if you cut the tail of your cat, it continues to be a cat, no? You understand that, huh? The difference between the essential relation between the relation between the genus and the species. Subject and predicate can be united essentially, can be united accidentally. So if it is essential, we don't speak about that. Here we speak only about what is accidental. Huh? It is accidental that the sidewalk is covered of water today because it rained, or covered with water because the pipe broke, or covered because my neighbor cleaned with the sidewalk. You know, so that is accidental. Huh? Okay, I continue. I go to just at the bottom of the page 125. Affirming the consequent, Q, or the effect is not necessarily affirming the antecedent. Okay, so we saw that. Huh? If I affirm Q, there are two possibilities, P or non-P. We saw that. In fact, it is a review of hypothetical syllogism. And after that, you have sentences, many cases. If workers obtain good salaries, there is no good salary, there will be a strike. There is a strike. Can I affirm it because of they don't have a good salary? Maybe because of another reason, an accident, etc. Two, that TV shows is popular. The effect is popular. Many people applaud, like that, etc. Because million people watch it. So the cause is the fact that people look at that. Okay, it is because P, the effect, the show is popular. Can I say if 50 million people watch that show, a TV show, then TV shows is popular. So the effect, if, the cause, 50 billion watch that, therefore it is popular. That TV show is popular, but it can be popular because 50 million look at that, of course. And because also there is another reason, circumstances, or the popularity of a person, or because of the situation. For example, in 1963, when Cuba, with the Russians, they were menacing very, very seriously the United States. You know, it was a very dramatic time at that time. You know, our building here, St. Philip, was built as a bunker. You know, St. Philip is a bunker. The walls are filled with concrete. That means that a big bomb fall down, we are protected. So we are. It was a real crisis, and all the people were on the news. All the other programs were not. Usually, people don't watch the news continually. I don't think CNN is the most popular station, but on that occasion, the people were attached to the. So the popularity was not attributed to the fact that the interest of the movie or the number of people. Because of the circumstances, you know, the circumstances make people attentive to the morning, all the night, all the day. Even in Canada, I remember, everybody was watching television because we were so afraid. So afraid. Atomic bomb was 90 miles from Miami. Imagine, it was very dramatic. Huh? So I read the text. Huh? The fact that 50 million auditors watch a show cannot be the unique cause of the popularity of the show. But rather, we can see the cause that the intrinsic value of the program or the popularity of some actor or some important social situation. For example, the crisis with Cuba in 1963. Yeah? So we cannot start from the consequence to go to the cause, from the effect to go to the cause. That is what we see here. Okay? So you can read that by yourself. I go to next page, page 127. No, it's the same page. Absolute and qualified statement. That fallacy is close to the first, what we call fallacy of accident. Sometimes there is a distinction is very tenuous between those different. From particular truth to universal truth. It is a kind of false induction, again, or a state generalization. It is a fallacy resulting from treating what is true of a certain respect, in a certain aspect, as though it were true without qualification. That is, in every case. Well, it is a soft. If you have to make a correction here. Something true under circumstances, that in particular, is always true. True, absolutely, not false. Correct that. You see that? It is sophism in big character. You have definition, after you have sophism. No?
Yeah, what about it? Something true.
Something true under circumstances, that means particular, that is true, is always true, true absolutely, not false.
Oh, true absolutely.
It is written false absolutely. Not false, true absolutely.
True, I see, nice.
Okay? You see that? Everybody is important. Okay? That means what is true in particular is considered as true for in general. Well, it is the same false induction that people. For example.
So that's an example of a fallacy.
Yeah.
Correct.
The remedy, that remedy, was very good for Jim. Therefore, I know that this remedy is a good thing. It is not that. Is it because a remedy is good in a particular way that it is good in a universal way? That is the big danger, no? Big danger in education. They never say to another, oh, it's good for me, it's good for you. Because you are not the same constitution. Huh? You are not the same problem. Yes, brother.
What's the difference between this and accident?
Yes, I told me it's almost the same thing.
Okay. Is there a difference or no?
Yeah, there is a difference, but personally, I have difficulty to find it.
Okay, sure.
Huh?
Sure.
I think maybe it is the... for me, to be French, I have difficulty to find the distinction.
Sure. Yeah.
Father Spengler give both, but they are almost similar.
Okay.
In fact, we will see the same phenomenon will happen just after when we study the vicious circle.
Okay.
The difference between them are
yeah.
so we can give a general word false induction.
Yeah.
False induction. Okay. The remedy, you know, the problem is what is good in a particular way, what is true in a particular way is not necessarily true in an absolute way. What is good, for example, practical, how do we say that? Grapefruit, you know grapefruit? Grapefruit is good for me, it's good for my health. God gave me vitamin C. So take grapefruit for you. You take that and you are sick. Because you take medication incompatible with grapefruit. I have some medication, it is written, no grapefruit. Because that medication, so we know what is good for one is not necessarily good for another. Secondly, the Great Economic Depression in the 20s and 30s taught people many good lessons. Therefore, economic depression are good for nations. You know? It is good, maybe at a particular point of view, it was a good thing. But like the war, for example, the War II, World War II was the cause of the fast development of industry in North America and Europe, especially in the United States and Canada. In a few years, we start from country life to industrial life because of the war. Huh? During the war, we produce incredible. You have to produce 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, continually to send bomb, to send ship, to send plane, to send car to Europe, to Japan, to both places. So we cannot say war are good. Therefore, let us provoke a war that is very good for the economy. You know? No, war is not good in itself, but it can have some aspect, some consequence of war can be good, but it's not necessarily in itself good, and evil is evil. I know that seminarians eat well. Yes, why? Because I went to the feast for the ordination of deacon. They had a very good meal. I saw Marcel with a girl. I spoke about that. 5. This employee was late at work. I'm sure he is a lazy worker. In fact, here is very close to the first kind of proof. Okay? You shall not kill. Therefore, war are forbidden. Now I go to non-cause, cause. Pretended cause. You know, here we spoke, many times we speak about causality. We don't speak about the content of the fallacy, we speak about the link of causality. The first is we call post hoc ergo propter hoc. Post hoc, after that, after this, word for word, after this, propter ergo, therefore, propter hoc, because of that. Because of this, of this, okay? Or after that, because, therefore. Something happened after, therefore the thing is the cause of. That means the consequence. From coincidence or anteriority to causality. For the example, the Expo of Montreal, they played in Oakland, California, baseball game. And suddenly there was an earthquake. Therefore, the Expo are the cause of the earthquake. Everybody would smile, of course. The Expo baseball club of Montreal at the time, they went to Rockland, and a huge earthquake at that time in San Francisco. Therefore, they are the cause. No? It is a coincidence that many times that plays in court of justice, because many times we don't see the crime, but we judge we find the criminal, or we try to find the criminal from some circumstances. No? In one of the circumstances, it is the act and after the act. For example, you see a man going out of the rectory. Suppose the priest is walking out of his rectory, and suddenly the police arrive and they discover a dead man in the rectory, killed. So you see, the priest walk out, and there was a dead man. Therefore, the priest killed the man. And many times, trials are based on that. We saw a fact, and after another fact. Therefore, what we saw first is the cause of what happened after. We call that post hoc ergo propter hoc, but I will not ask that. Be careful, be sure. A prior event is cited as cause of the subsequent event. It is a sequence of facts, but the sequence of facts becomes a sequence of causality. You understand that? A sequence of facts, a series of facts, fact A, and after that fact B, A become the cause of B. That is the summary of the fallacy. It is to take a sequential relationship as a causal relationship. In fact, it's the confusion of causal and temporal connection. A temporal connection, you arrive to a bank and you see people running from the bank. You say, oh, and there is a people hold up, or people are prisoner in the safe, etc. We say, oh, those guys did that. Maybe, maybe not. Always, we cannot start from Q to go to P. You have to prove that. Okay? Maybe there is a link. Maybe the temporal link is also a consequential link, a causal link, but it's not necessarily that. Here I gave you 9 examples. We saw John walking out of the house, next to found a man killed, okay? It is sure that John killed a man. Recently, I think last year, they liberated a man. He was condemned for 25 years in prison because of a false induction, you know, because he was the unique man found on the spot of the crime, and they say you are, they succeed to prove he was guilty. What was worse, it was proved that the police at the time hid 2 things, and the 2 things were revealed, and the one who did that became a judge after, and the judge was put into jail for 10 days. Your man was 25 years. You know, sometimes we are victim of appearances. Huh? Many times people are victim of appearances. Every proof is against you. Even you are not guilty. 3, okay, 2. He is a good violinist because he played at the age of 5. It is because, you know, what is the cause of being a good violinist? It is because he plays at the age of 5. And because, of course, he plays at the age of 5, but it's not the fact he plays at the age of 5 that's a good violinist. On the contrary, he was a good violinist, and because he was a good violinist, he played at the age of 5, like Mozart, for example. Mozart, at the age of 5, wrote music for piano, and even today people have difficulty to play that. Huh? He was 5 years old. But he was not a good pianist because he was able to, no, he was able, he was a good pianist, and consequently at 5 he was able to do something. Sometimes we we mix the consequence and the cause. Huh? The cause and the effect. We mix those. Huh? Arthur is a very pious seminarian. There is no Arthur here. Huh? I saw him going out of the chapel during the recreation. He's a good physician because he graduated from Yale. He is a good physician. He is a good physician because he graduated from Yale.
No.
So people will say, oh, he is from Yale, therefore he is. And that is a kind of prejudices. Huh? In fact, all those are prejudices. Huh? We judge before having the proof. Huh? Pray before to judge. We judge before having the proof. Huh? Okay. He was designated cardinal by John Paul II because he visited the Pope last spring. Now, there is no link, but you know, somebody, oh yeah, he visited the Pope, you know, he corrupted the Pope, therefore he gave money to the Pope, so, you know. He drank 2 beers. It is not a surprise that he sang so well. So, say, if you want to sing well, then drink beer before the Mass. His vacation was prison after having obtained his MA. Well, it is the fact he obtained his MA make his vacation pleasant, you know. Sometimes we put link of causality, and there is no link of causality, etc. He is an Orthodox teacher because he studied in eminent Roman Catholic University. He can inform us about Vatican II because he was in Rome, etc. So no, we must be prudent. A series of facts is not a series of causality. The facts, I study in Cromwell, okay? After that, I am ordained a priest. I cannot say because I studied in Cromwell, I am ordained a priest. I can be also other things than a priest. I can be a teacher, I can be a nurse, I can be nothing, you know? So that is a tendency, especially in justice. You know? Many injustices are based on that. We take a sequence of events as a sequence of causality. Two events succeed, they are not necessarily linked as cause. It can be pure coincidence. Coincidence, a link happens together without a link, by accident. By accident. Okay? Now, continue in the rectangle I gave you. The fallacy of analogy. That is not in the book of Sister Spangler. It is taken from Mr. William Rees. I think I put that because I think it's important to know that kind of fallacy. Fallacy of analogy. Comparison is not reason. First we say comparaison n'est pas raison. Comparison is not reason. It is not because I can't compare two situations and conclude that the first situation justifies the second situation. You know, we have that. Huh? It is the function of analogy to illustrate or support or help to understand, but not to demonstrate. So an analogy, have to understand, an analogy does not prove. Very important. An analogy does not prove. Okay? The fallacy is committed when one argues from the analogy to a conclusion claimed to follow necessarily. Don't forget the thing. In every analogy, you remember that? There is something common, but there is something different. In every analogy, there is something common that justifies the comparison, but at the same time, there is something different, and that difference impedes us from affirming a link of causality. For example, ambulances and police cars go through red lights if they are in a hurry. I should be able to do the same thing when I am in a hurry. You know? I compare the situation of ambulances not stopping on the red light to my situation. Okay, they are in a hurry, but it's common, both of us, the ambulance and myself, we are in a hurry. But what is different? They are in a hurry to save a life. I'm not in a hurry to save a life. Therefore, I cannot justify the way the ambulance does not respect the red light to justify that I don't respect the red light. You know? Comparison is not reason. No analogy must be taken at the foot of the letter. Another thing also. Come on, Jesus say, take off your eye or cut your hand. But it is not to be taken at the foot of the letter. Otherwise, we'd have a lot of people without end. Comparison, I go just after that. The wrong someone do without being punished is not a reason justifying others to do the same. And sometimes people, they do that. They do that and they are not punished, therefore I can do the same. You know? Many times people say that. They do that, they steal, they in the store, they steal, and they are not punished. They are, okay, everybody, you know, everybody does that. Everybody does that, therefore you can do that. That is a reasoning we find. Everybody does that. Everybody cheats the government. Everybody cheats the government, therefore I can cheat the government. Okay. So that is, comparison does not justify the conclusion. It's not because we are similar that we are absolutely, we are similar and not identical. And it is not because someone does something that I can do that. Of course, in British law and American law, which follows the British law, what we call jurisprudence. And that is, it is on what the lawyer play. Because, you know, for example, suppose you have a fact here in 2014, and the lawyer has to plead to prove that the client is innocent. What he will do? He will go to the library and find some case the most similar to that and see how the judge concluded that. He say, you know, in 1945, that case happened. In 1880, and the judge concluded like that. Therefore, you should conclude like that, you know. That is, we call jurisprudence. Huh? In the British law, it's very important. British jurisprudence sometimes become like the force of law. For example, in 1945, in Canada, the speed on the highways was 45 miles per hour. So I remember that very clearly, 45 miles per hour. Because I live on the most important highway in Canada from Montreal to Toronto. The house of my uncle was on the road. And the police, at that time, they have no car, but they have bicycle, and they control 45 miles per hour. Huh? Okay? But the car are improving. After that, people went 60 miles per hour. I remember I was with a teacher. He was driving 60 miles. Hey, he drives fast, 60 miles per hour, very fast. But it was 45. So a day, what happened? People, the government said, you know, 45 is not reasonable. Let us put 60 miles per hour. Like here, 65 now. But you know, 25 years ago, it was 55. You remember that? 55. So, we know the jurisprudence is, you know, the majority of people not do that, and there is the bad consequence, so therefore, okay, let us go. That is, we got jurisprudence. Huh? Or we judge cause now according to other causes, cases studied in the past. But it is not a reason. You know, in a family, for example, you have 3 boys. And one asked his mother, Mother, give me money because I want to go to movie, for example. No. Ah, no, I cannot go to movie. No, no. Well, John goes to movie. No. Huh? He goes to movie, my brother goes to movie. So, you know, you justify because the other do that. Huh? So that is very current in school, very current. Huh? The majority, it is a social pressure. Huh? The social pressure is here. Ignorance of the proof. So sometimes it's called also ignorance of the question. Huh? Ignorance of the question. In Latin, ignorantia enlici. Enlici, it has a Greek word. It is we don't target the real problem. We avoid to touch the problem, and we go to the doctor, and you say that I'm not well, but you don't want to tell exactly where, because you are afraid that he will tell you that you have such a disease. People are like that, someone. Huh? So it is the fallacy resulting from ignoring the requirement of the proof, the need of the proof. In fact, we don't answer the exact question. I ask a question in mathematics, for example, in geometry, and prove. And my students, they know perfectly another theorem. So they recite the other theorem perfectly, but they don't answer my question. That happens sometimes. I ask a question, and the answer is perfect, but it's not my question. That is ignorance of the subject. Huh? Okay? Is the reason why when you prepare an essay, you answer a question at the examination, we must read attentively the question. So ignorance, that argument of the proof is the comprehensive fallacy which embraces any proof which seems to conclude because of ignorance of arguers, but in fact does not conclude. Fallacy illustrated when the argument which ignore the point to be proved. In fact, we don't answer the question. We turn around. We turn around. You know, maybe when you were young, I never did that, but I know somebody did that. They attach a tin can to the tail of their cat with the tail of their dog to have fun. And what that dog will do? Oh, no, that is the argument. I don't mean. Okay, excuse me, it's not a good example. We will see about that after. Okay. So we ignore the point to be proved. Now, you have many kinds. We have the first 5.1, the argument ad hominem. So instead of answering the question, you attack the person. You'll see how that guy is not able to do that, etc. Instead of answering the question. See, we can't that also poisoning the well. It is irrelevant. It is without support, attack on the personal character. For example, you should not elect my opponent to the school board because he has never graduated from a college. You know, so we instead of fighting the idea of my adversary, I attack the person. That is very common in politics. Very common. Okay. I saw we see that many times. You look what happened today in Ferguson, and the problem of people. In fact, the prejudices are here. We don't study the case. We study the person. And if it is a black man or a Latino or a foreigner, immediately the suspicions are on that person. That is a fact. That is a fact. And that, if you look at the television recently, many places, that the problem is there. Racism is there. Racism is there. Okay? So we don't attack the idea. We attack the person. We ridicule the person. We mock the person instead of fighting the idea. Okay? The second argument is, yes, before. What good can come from Nazareth? You remember that? What good can come out of Nazareth? Nathanael said that to Jesus. You know, that is a prejudice. Prejudice. Okay? Or somebody has a good idea, very good idea in the convent or in the monastery, but you say, you never study theology. You have no diploma. His idea is excellent, but instead of attacking or defending the idea, you attack the person. Argument ad populum, it is the appeal to the crowd, to the mob. The mob comes from Latin mobile, mobilis. That means changing, changing. The mob is changing. That means the argument dependent on the opinion, the general opinion of the people where we live. Argument. It is a plea based on the arousal of passion or prejudices in a crowd. We call that also demagogy. In politics, it's demagogy. Demos means people. Agos means to lead the people. So it is an arousal of emotion and passion of the crowd. It's not a reasoning, it is provoking emotion. Hatred, for example, hatred. Okay? It was what happened in the Crystal Night in Germany, Crystal Night, where the Nazi provoked the hatred for the Jews, okay, against the Jews. For example, everyone does that. The majority gives security. So it's not the value of the fact or the idea, it is the fact that the majority inclined to do that. Here, number does not make truth. It is the argument of the number here. The argument of the number. It is the argument of democracy. The argument of democracy is number. We saw that a recent election, no? The 4th of November. What decides the nomination of a candidate is the number. Okay.
It seems some of the fallacies, there can be like two fallacies in one thing. Do you agree? It's like, you could say, for a certain example, this could be two fallacies, you know, do you agree? Like, says, John is surely not guilty because he is a member of our family.
Mhm.
And there's,
Yeah.
yeah,
In fact, many fallacies, for example, prejudices, are here, and they are. You know, the division is not very strict between those fallacies. Is the reason why I gave you a paper, you have that,
Yeah.
no? To fix exactly what I want. In the way I will ask questions, there is no ambiguity.
okay,
And be sure, because I know the difficulty is, even you look at the other book, they give other name for that.
uh-huh,
What is important is to discover there is a fallacy.
yeah,
The name is secondary.
okay, yeah,
I will give you an example, or we go, and you have to find what kind, and it is so clear you cannot, if you mix bad names, you don't understand.
okay, yeah.
Okay? I understand your position. In fact, it's true.
I
When
know
you study
it.
fallacies, it's very difficult to see the differences between them because they are so close. Huh?
Yeah.
And
What-
you take one author, another author, they don't make the same division.
Yeah, I get it, we're just trying to find the error in some reasoning,
Right.
so. we
Try
have
to find
yeah.
what is the error. Huh? Okay, you gave a name, but the error is most important to find. Huh? For example, elect John Pitt, and you will regret your vote because you will suffer paying levy taxes. You know, you pay. You don't reason the value why you want to to have more taxes. No, you will suffer. You know. And that is exactly what we see many times on television. And the argument is, oh, you don't vote for that man because, you know, he will raise taxes. Yes, but sometimes we need to raise taxes. The cost of life is climbing continually, and you want to stay at the same price as 10 years ago. Huh? Vote for Titus. He's a good man because he's a member of our clan. Huh? That is a problem if you live in some countries, like I live in Africa. The tribe, the clan is excessively powerful. It's the problem of Middle East. The Middle East, the problem is there. Problem of clan, the problem of tribe. John is surely not guilty because he's a member of my family. You know. Okay. Now, the argument referred to the number of majority is one of the danger of democracy. Into that, opinion prevail. Opinion prevail. The opinion is based more of the time, not all the time, but most of the time on emotion, feeling. It is proved that John Kerry lost his election because he's not a handsome man. He's filled with bones everywhere. That place. You know, that way I know people they go to mass because the man, a priest is a handsome man. the Beatles, think about the Beatles, when they came to New York first time, at least 100 girls, they collapsed. Huh? The emotion is very powerful. Huh?
For John Kerry?
No,
Beatles.
the Beatles.
Oh, the Beatles.
Not the same answer. I mean, that is the reason why you have now faculty in Harvard, faculty of psychology, they are the department of body language. A department of body language. They spoke about on television, and now the politicians, they consult them. Because they speak by their way of talking, their way of looking at. I give you a simple example. You remember on 9/11. 9/11, President Bush was in Florida, I think, with a little boy. And when they announced the catastrophe,
He was
he
in
had
the
a book.
classroom reading to a class.
He has a book in his room. But the book was, he was reading the book, but the book was
Upside down?
upside down.
Oh, wow. So, how is it?
Imagine the whole world, it was published in China everywhere. The President of the United States is not able to read. That is, we can see that. Huh? Of course, he was so emotional, he forgot the book. But the way we talk, the way we smile, that is important. Emotion is very, very important. Don't forget, we have body and soul. And if somebody say something to do kindly, and others say the same thing to you in a rough way, you will not accept the second. It is the same thing. Okay? The argument now avercondiam, or the sense of shame. Vericondiam in Latin means to create fear. To create fear. So from obgaldat, also from reverence. It is the authority, the use of authority or esteem. Or they call that also the argument of magister dixit. The teacher said. It is the argument of authority. Authority. And that argument is used many times in politics, used many times in philosophy. And that is dangerous, because philosophy cannot be based on that. I cannot say that is true because St. Thomas said that, or because Aristotle said that. And you know the problem of Galileo, the Galileo affair was caused by that. Aristotle said that the earth is the center of the world, and the Bible confirmed that. Therefore, good Galileo, you are wrong. The Magister Dixit never said, "My father, we shall never teach that," therefore it's true. But sometimes, little boy, when they talk, my father said, oh, my father, the argument of authority. And that is, there is a temptation, because I am a teacher, old teacher, many times in seminaries, especially in seminaries in house of formation, and when we give a class of philosophy, many times the arguments are taken from the Bible or from the Gospel or from, they are not good arguments. In philosophy, we don't use the argument of authority. In theology, we use essentially at the beginning the argument of authority, not in philosophy. You know, I taught in Ottawa University, and I have in my class all the faculties, because in that university, all the students of every faculty must study philosophy. So they come to that class, 50 students. I taught St. Thomas, I taught Aristotle, but I never mentioned St. Thomas. Because if mention it, they will laugh. They don't accept today the argument of authority. But at the same time, sometimes we find students, they are attached to Heidegger, attached to Jean-Paul Sartre and the Church. No. Sometimes they ask me, what is your best philosopher? I say, I don't have best philosopher. The truth is a philosopher, my master.
Nice.
Yes, you cannot, otherwise you are the slave of the, of course I can say, I like St. Thomas, I like Aristotle, I like Maritain, I like Mounier, because, not because they are what they are, because what they said. The logical part, the truth of what they said, that interests me. Not because they said, not the argument of authority, okay? I go to the next argument, the argument ad misericordiam. Oh, por favor, have pity on me. Kyrie eleison. Ten piedad de nosotros. Misericordia means mercy. Have pity, mercy. The argument based on mercy. Some students, they say, oh, Father, when you correct, be merciful. I say, no, I must be just. Appeal to pity. Feeling, feeling, emotion, call to emotion. But judge, is our faith is a good Catholic? You cannot condemn them. Oh, this poor man, he's a killer, serial killer, was born in a poor family, living in a poor house, and all the people cry, No. That is plead for mercy, argument based on mercy. Sometimes there is a temptation. We saw that in some court. Oh, that gangster, no, he's not so bad. He's the victim of his father, he's the victim of his family, he's the victim of the society. In fact, who is guilty is the society, it is you, it's not he. That argument, it is misericordia, ad misericordia. We play on feeling, on emotion. And the lawyer used that in court. They use that to influence the jury, no? They play on their sensibility. Backroom, If you want in modern language, I will see the argument, a baseball bat argument. Huh? A baseball bat. That means the argument on the bat, on the big stick. The use of force. You don't want to vote for, okay, bang, okay, the baseball bat. In the election, sometimes we find that. Threatening, to threaten, to create fear. To create fear. Use the menace. That is the law of the stronger. Hobbes, he speak about the man is a wolf for man. And there is a fable, the lamb and the wolf. You know that fable? The lamb of the wolf. Huh?
No.
There was a river. The river was flowing like that. And there was a lamb, a poor little lamb here. And there was a ferocious wolf. And the wolf was attacking the lamb. He said, you spoil my water, and the water, the poor lamb was guilty of spoiling the water of the wolf, and the water was coming there, the law of the stronger. I am the lion. In Latin we say, I am right because I am named Lion. My nominal, Leo. My name is Lion. That means I am right because I am the strongest. And that is an argument also used many times in some countries. Okay. So now the beginning of the question. Well, that we call that petitio principii. Then we ask the principle we have to prove. In that here we have many versions of that. It can be a vicious circle, a circular demonstration, a petition of principle. Okay, but essentially, what is that? The very use of the point to be proved as the needed reason. In fact, we use what we have to prove as a reason. Through examples, we find that. Fallacy resulting from taking from granted as a premise, the very thing which has to be proved. In fact, we take the conclusion as the premise. What we have to prove, we use that to prove. Well, example. Under the fallacy, one may try to justify a premise from a conclusion. Yes. We use the conclusion to prove the premise. It is a vicious circle. Anyway, example. Why was Mary chosen to organize the party? Premise. Because Mary is the most qualified. Why is Mary the most qualified? Because Mary was chosen. Why Mary was chosen? Because, etc. We turn them round. I spoke about your dog. If you put the tin can attached to the tail of your dog, it will turn around to find, and when he is turning, the tin can is following. The same. That if children sometimes they do that to have fun. Okay. So that is a vicious circle. Next page. The vicious circle is one of the four forms of petition principle. For example, here you have the schema. The competence of Mary is the cause of being chosen, but the fact he's chosen is provoking, justifying the competence of Mary. So in fact, we turn in a circle. So these are four forms of petition principle. Well, I will ask you to deem the difference between them, but at least to be able to say that it's a vicious circle. For example, the first, a flat contradiction. For example, I do not exist. It is an obvious contradiction. Well, no, we don't insist on that. The second, it is isterum proterum. That means in Latin, in English, the later earlier, or the laster first. Well, I will not too insist on that, but let us go to the Merriam-Webster. In fact, if you want, it is to put the cart before the horse. to put the cart before the horse, or to put the oxen before the plow. A figure of speech consisting of the reversal of natural rational order. Then came the thunder and the lightning. We should say the lightning, then the thunder. You know, is the contrary of the natural order. It is purely empty, negative response. Very important. Taking for granted what needs to be proved. In fact, that is the general aspect of every vicious circle. Huh? We take for granted what we have to prove. Huh? Okay? Women are incomprehensible. No man can say they understand them. You know? So, the example after we go to 5.564. Okay, the next one, mathematics. I go to 564. Another is tautology, huh? A mere repetition, a redundance, huh? Redundancy. The name we said exactly the same. A circle is a line that circles around. And we saw that in logic, a definition. We cannot use the word to be defined in the definition. Huh? Okay? Vicious circle, circular argument. Try to prove the statement A by reason of B and B by reason of A. A soul is simple because it is non-dimensional, and it is not dimensional because it is simple. Or another one, O. Henry, chocolate is the better than other brands because numerous people eat it, and more people eat O. Henry chocolate because it is better than the other brand. In fact, we turn. The proof, what it should be proved is used as a foundation to prove the other. And that is used by some philosophers. Descartes, he was a very intelligent man, he does a vicious circle, and he said, why I am true? I am true because God gives me idea, gives me innate idea. Remember that? Innate idea. Okay? But I have innate idea because God gave me that. You know? That means to prove that God exists, I use the idea that God gave me. So it is, we call it a vicious circle. Huh? Vicious circle. We stay in the same sphere of affirmation. Huh? Well, you can read that by yourself. Huh? Another thing is that to prove the order of the world in the world through the God wisdom, and God wisdom through the order in the world. And that sometimes the proof of St. Thomas are attacked as tautology because of that. In fact, it is not true. Huh? It's not true. St. Thomas, he starts from the facts of the order in the world. It does not fact the fact God is wise. On the contrary, he proved God is wise from the fact of the order. But his enemies, those who oppose St. Thomas, they say, you know, you affirm there is order in the world because God is wise. No, we affirm there is order in the world first, and from that we affirm that God is wise. A good example to understand it is what is in the square. 3 thieves are arguing over the division of 7 fine pearls. One of them hands 2 pearls in the hand to the man of his right, and 2 pearls to the man of his left. The man of his right says, how come you keep 3? Because I am the leader. He says, because I am the leader. Oh, but how come you are sure you are the leader? Because I have 3 pearls. Huh? You follow that? I am, why are you the leader? Because I am 3 pearls. Huh? In fact, the fact I am having 3 pearls justified I am the leader. And the fact I am the leader, because I am the leader, I have 3 pearls. So one is used as a proof for the other. One is used. The fact I have 3 pearls explains why I am the leader, and the fact I am the leader explains why I am 3 pearls. No, that is a vicious circle. And finally, the complex question. You ask many questions. We saw that in logic when we say one question at a time, no? Not two questions at a time, not two answers. For example, are virtue and vice to be avoided or not? Of course, they must be avoided, but they depend what you say. So we should say, our virtue is to be avoided, or is vice to be avoided? You know, detached. It is a confusion, and the question is ambiguous. And if you answer one or the other, you are wrong. We have a case that happened in Canada when there was an election, point of the election, a referendum for the independence of Quebec. So the question was very tricky, because the people accept a part of the question, they don't accept the second part. For example, do you want to have free health care and no pay to tax? Of course, I want to have free health care, but I don't want to pay taxes, more taxes, you know. So there is a way to trick people, asking two questions at the same time. So ask only one question, because you have two questions, you can answer one or the other. Okay? And finally, I go to the last paragraph. They call the fallacy of dilemma. It is a kind of fallacy, also dilemma. And contradiction in adjective or adjective. Adjective means to throw, adjective. Piacere, to throw, add in the direction of. For example, a round square or a square round. A true lie or a false truth. So God is not God because He cannot create a round square or a true lie or a false truth. Indeed, in His infinite wisdom, God cannot contradict Himself, of course. That is what we call adjective. I remember, finished by that, when I was a kid, there was a joke. At catechism, we say, where is God? And so God is everywhere. Omnipresent, everywhere. And the little kid said, no, God is not present everywhere. Why? He's not in our basement. Why? Because we don't have basement. So, you know, okay. And here we have the series of questions to precise only what I ask from you, okay? And then we ask about 10 questions on that to find the right answer. But be sure it will be unequivocal. It will not be equivocal. It will be clear. I don't want to track you. And the other question you have already to find a fallacy in a newspaper or in okay, that is the question of the exam. I count for 10 points on 100. What you prepare. Okay? Have you a question on the fallacy to find? No? Okay. Have a good meal.